Today I'm going to show you how to draw red hair in colored pencil. Hey guys, welcome back to my art channel. Today I'm going to show you how to draw red hair using Prismacolor Pencils. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my weekly tutorials. So for this drawing, I used the Strathmore 400 Bristol Smooth. You can use any Bristol Smooth paper for this and it will give you similar results. And for this I used only the Prismacolor colored pencils. The colors that I used were the black cherry, sepia, black, burnt ochre, dark purple, dark brown, black grape, Tuscan red, terracotta, 90% warm gray, sienna brown, and then I used white for the highlights. So to start out with, I just used the sepia color for the whole of the braid to get all of the darkest shadows and kind of get the shading that I wanted for the whole thing done. I have a separate tutorial on how to do this, so I will have a card pop up if you want to check that out. For this video, I'm just going to have it go through this part pretty quickly. The main thing is you want to make sure that you get your contrast and you get those darkest areas where you want them to be and keep the highlights white at this point so that when you go over with the colors, you don't have to do a ton of shading with the colors. One thing that's hard about drawing red hair is that there's so many different variations of the color red when it comes to hair. The shade that I was doing is a little bit more purpley, which is why I chose to use some of the purple colors. But if you're going for a more auburn look, you might want to use more browns. So to start off with, after I finished with the sepia color, I just took the burnt ochre and applied that to the whole of the braid, even the highlight. Then I went through with the black just in the absolute darkest areas just to make sure I had a little bit more contrast. And then the next color I used was the sienna brown, and again I just went through all of the braid with this color. The sienna brown and the burnt ochre are great for doing red hair because they're brown but they have a little bit of a reddish tint to them, so if you are going for a more auburn color hair, these colors are great. After the sienna brown, then I used the terracotta. Again, because I was going for a more reddish, purpley kind of red hair color, I wanted to use the terracotta to achieve more of that reddish tone. Even though you are drawing red hair, you don't necessarily want to go straight for the bright reds. In the Prismacolor set, there are some reds that are very bright, and if you try to use those to do hair, it wouldn't look very realistic. It would look like almost cartoon type hair instead of realistic hair. Woo! So after the terracotta, I used the black again just for some of the darker areas. And then I used the black grape to go over the shadowed areas, not just the parts where I put the black, but also some of the areas that I wanted to be a bit darker and more shadowed. But I didn't want to use this for all of the hair because it would have been way too dark for the highlighted areas. Again, because I was going for a more purpley tone, I used the black grape. If you're going for a browner red, then you might want to use a dark brown. The next color I used was the Tuscan red, and because I was really going for a deep red color, I decided to use this one as my most vibrant red. I didn't use it in the brightest highlighted areas, but I did use it for the majority. You want to make sure that the lightest parts still have a little bit of that tone to it, so I did very lightly through the highlights use this color, but I didn't press as hard as I did for the rest of the hair. I wanted those highlights to stay bright but get a tiny bit of the red tone to it. After the Tuscan red, then I used the dark purple to go over the darkest shadows. I wanted to make sure that the difference between the highlights and the shadows wasn't super drastic. I wanted it to really kind of blend from the dark to the light. So using the dark purple was a good kind of middle color in between where the highlighted portions were going to be and where the darker portions were going to be. So this color kind of really blended that all together. And it also gave a more purple tone to kind of dull down the Tuscan red, because the Tuscan red was a little bit brighter than I wanted the hair to look. So after the dark purple, then I used the 90% warm gray in the darkest shadows. I didn't want areas to get too black because they tend to look a little bit flat when you use black, so I wanted to use the warm gray because it gives it a little bit more depth, but it still achieves a pretty dark tone. Then at this point, I was pretty happy with the overall mix of colors, so I started using a little bit more pressure and blending. One of the nice things about the Prismacolors is because they are wax-based pencils, they are a little bit softer, so they do blend pretty well together. So I didn't really have to put a lot of pressure even when I was trying to blend all the colors. So after the warm gray, then I went back with the terracotta over the whole of the drawing, and I used this color to kind of blend everything together. After the terracotta, then I went back again with the Tuscan red, and this helped get more of that deep red color. And then once I was happy with the overall color, I used the white to go back for some of the highlights. Before I added the white, you can see that there is a highlighted portion for each part of the braid, but I wanted some of the areas to really be pulled out more, so that's why I used the white. At this point, because there was so much color on the page, I used a lot of pressure for the white just to make sure that it really came through. This is one of the nice things about the Prismacolor white, is it does go on top of colors a lot easier than say the Faber-Castell Polychromos white, which is not as opaque. So like I said earlier, there are many different shades of red hair, so this is just one that I decided to draw. So if you're looking for a different shade of red, you can vary the colors that you're using, making them either more brown or even more purpley or more orange. It really just depends on your reference photo, but overall the same idea can be applied to any style of red hair or any braid that you're drawing. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for future tutorials. Bye guys!